the three bills are very, very important right now that are on the plate for the USA. So I did a little research this week and we made a presentation on the 4-H for hodl knots this particular week. And even since then, a couple days ago, the information's been updated. So we wanted to bring it to the long-term trade report holders because this is really important and it's an information that's going on in the world today. So let me share my screen and I'm just going to try and simplify. This is what we do. We break the information down for you and we simplify it for you so that you can know what's going on. Because a lot of people, yeah, we know that most of you are really busy with your businesses and life and things going on that you probably haven't had time to break this information down. So I'm going to simplify it for you. So hopefully can you see my screen, Marius? Is it showing my
I've seen
presentation?
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. So let's get into the three bills and I'm going to try and break them down for you. Compliments of Bitcoin trend and forecast. Oops, there we go. Okay, so here are the three bills. So we're going to break each one of them down and we're going to show you where they're at today. Just for a lot of people who don't know, in the USA, they have declared this particular week that's ongoing right now as Crypto Week. Okay, so just know that it's going on. And there's a reason why there's this Crypto Week. So we'll get into that as well. The Clarity Act is the first one that's up on the plate. And this is a Digital Asset Market Clarity Act of 2025. The second one is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. And the third one is the Genius Act. It's guiding and establishing national innovation for the U.S. Stablecoins Act of 2025. And the three of these are kind of going together, and they're being pushed forward this week. So let's get into what's important about these bills, the purpose of these three bills. Okay, so I'm going to break each one of them down and just give you the bottom line. The Clarity Act, the purpose of it is for regulatory framework around digital assets by clarifying the roles of the SEC and the Commodities Future Trading Commission. You're going to see this quite a bit in the news right now, the initial CFTC. So I put it there so that you would know what it meant. It addresses defining which cryptocurrencies are securities and they fall under the SEC jurisdiction, and which commodities fall under the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Okay, which jurisdiction they go under, they have to be separated. The second bill is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and this is where there's a lot of ruckus right now in the lawmakers, as well as the financial government regulated areas. The purpose of this particular bill is it prohibits the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, which is called a CBDC. Now, the CBDCs we do not want. Okay, these are bank regulated, and this is where all the big backlash is going because they're not cryptocurrency. It addresses concerns about government surveillance, financial privacy, and centralized control over digital transactions. This is control of the banks. This is what everybody doesn't want, and this is what they're fighting to get. So the third one is the big one that is probably going to be on Trump's desk very quickly, is the Genius Act. And this one establishes the first federal regulatory framework for stable coins. And so everybody should know what a stable coin is. It's like USDT. It pegs against an asset like the US dollar. Cryptocurrencies are going to explode with this. We're hoping. The market is really, really a big bill. It aims to ensure protection. It prevents against fraud, which is a really big issue that a lot of people have had with cryptocurrencies to begin with. It promotes innovation while maintaining the dollar's global dominance, which is huge for the USA. So this is why it's really important to advance cryptocurrencies, this particular bill. Now I want to break down each bill and give you the key provisions of the bill, simplifying all of the news and stuff that you have out there. The Clarity Bill establishes three groups for digital assets, Bitcoin and stablecoins. This excludes securities such as investment contracts. It grants the CFTC, told you you'd be hearing more about that, their authority over spot and derivatives trading for most cryptos. It also reduces the SEC enforcement over crypto assets that have been such a problem in the past, especially where XRP is concerned, as you've heard over the past year or two about the SEC and how they've gotten in the way of cryptocurrencies. So this is reducing their enforcement over these commodities to streamline regulation and foster innovation. It also sets ground rules for exchanges and trading platforms for consumer protection while encouraging market growth. So this is really what we need is the Clarity Act, and we need it to go through. So the second one as well is very, very important. It's the Anti-CBD Surveillance State Act. This act amends the Federal Reserve Act to explicitly ban the issuance of a CBDC or any substantial similar type digital asset going forward in the future. It ensures only that Congress can authorize a digital dollar, essentially preventing the Federal Reserve from unilaterally implementing a CBDC. This is huge. Okay. So basically, bottom line is that, again, those people who've never heard of a CBDC, it's a fiat currency which is regulated by the central banks, of which many countries are trying to develop them right now and implement, which they are not cryptocurrency, but they're a new form of legal tender that is not pegged to a physical commodity. This is why we don't want them. Okay. So now we have the third bill, and this is the provision of this bill is the Genius Act. This is one that has a lot of people's eyes on because it's about to pass, we believe. This is about stablecoins. This requires a stablecoin issuer to maintain a 1-to-1 ratio on cash reserves against the coin. It's registering with the federal and state regulators, and it enforces compliance to anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing rules, which is big. This will regulate it. Okay. It regulates who can issue a stablecoin, but now it's going to be an open market, and you can already see a lot of the news going around people wanting to establish their own stablecoins, but they're going to be regulated again by the federal and state regulators. Okay, this is going to prevent events like Terra Luna crash that we all had, and a lot of people suffered from that crash. So this is going to help with that. This will also include provisions to prohibit the members of Congress and senior executive branch officials from issuing their own stablecoins during their tenure, and it will prevent conflicts of interest. Get their little fingers out of the pie. Okay. It will allow federal and state regulators to supervise the issuers to give a very good balance between innovation and oversight. And this is really, really big. And this one is the one that's advanced forward. Now I want to get into where are these bills right now? I'm broken it down for you. Okay. So the legislative status of these three bills, simplified. Okay. So we have the three bills, the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBD Surveillance State Act, and the Genius Act. So where are they at right now? I updated this slide, and you're going to see it on the next slide shortly, and I'm going to show you what's happened in the last day. The Clarity Act has passed the House Financial Services and Agriculture Committees listed on the union calendar. It is pending a full House vote. And remember, the deadline is tomorrow in the USA. That's Friday. Okay, if it's passed, it will move to the Senate. On the CBDC, the anti-CBDC bill, it's already passed the House Financial Services Committee, and that passed last year, 2024, where we weren't even aware of that. It also passed a full House last year. So now it's scheduled for further consideration during this week, Crypto Week, because it lacks a Senate counterpart. The passage is uncertain at this particular time. The Genius Act, the last one that I talked about, has already passed the Senate as of yesterday. Okay, it's scheduled for a full House vote during this week, meaning tomorrow's deadline. If it passes without amendments, then it can go to President Trump's desk and potentially become the first major U.S. crypto law. Okay, but all of three of these are sort of packaged together. And what you're going to find is this is what's happened just since the other day when I had this same presentation. The update is that tomorrow's the deadline. Okay, they're at different stages. The final House votes on these bills are expected to be imminent tomorrow, or they're going to be stalled further. So this is what we have to look at. But the big issue was the Clarity Act, so that you know that because this one in the last minute changes have been added into the Clarity Act after President Trump had a long conversation with them to merge. They want to merge this particular bill, the anti-CBDC bill language, into the Clarity Act and combine them because they don't like the Clarity Act without having the CBDC requirements in there because they're afraid that some law members and members of the Financial Service Committee are very unhappy that the CBDC rules and laws are not included in the Clarity Act. So they're trying to merge these two right now. And this one is pretty eminent that it will probably pass. So if they can end up merging the CBDC Act into the Clarity Act, it probably stands a better chance. So this is what they were talking about yesterday and pushing forward. So here I'm almost done, but I'm just making sure that you have the full overview. The positive impacts versus the potential risks. So these are the positive impacts: regulatory clarity, CFTC empowerment, global competitiveness. It's going to boost for private stablecoins, big boost for that. Privacy advocacy will be included in cryptocurrency. Stablecoin legitimacy, making sure that people are not afraid that it's just used for money laundering and things and that it's evil and all that good stuff. It's actually a very good commodity to have. Consumer protection, the US dollar dominance. This is really big, and this will help push the US economy forward. The innovation boost. The risks that we have with these bills are reduced investor protections, Senate uncertainty, criticism of the fraud enablement that lies within the open areas of these bills, limited Senate support, criticism is unnecessary, criticism of weak oversight they're afraid of. Democratic opposition is huge. It's got a huge pushback, as you can imagine, because they want those CBDCs so they can have control and power. Procedural hurdles, that's what's really pushing forward on these bills and getting them passed and getting them where they need to be. So the crypto week dynamics this particular week are designated. The reason why we're having crypto week is because it's designated to fast track these three bills. The purpose is to position the US as the crypto capital of the world, which Trump has always been saying we're going to make it there. The anti-crypto corruption week campaign you need to know about is what their Democrats and those that are opposing these bills are up against. The political debate is over these cryptos is heating up in the Washington, D.C. this week, and particularly today and tomorrow. There's a big pushback that's complicating the passage of these bills. It's led by Maxine Waters and Stephen Lynch, and they are really pushing forward for a bill that's aimed at uniting the Democrats to block these three crypto bills. So they are actually calling this big campaign Anti-Crypto Corruption Week, and they're pushing forward so that these bills will not get pushed through. So just know that there's a lot of debate going back and forth within the USA about that. So in conclusion, wrapping up these three bills, the Clarity Act could transform the crypto market by clarifying SEC and CFTC roles. It will reduce regulatory uncertainty and foster innovation, but it faces criticism for potentially weakening investor protections, and it requires Senate approval. So this is what we're waiting on for the Clarity Act. They're also trying to push through the CBDC Surveillance State Act, which supports private stablecoins by blocking a digital dollar, aligning with privacy advocates, but it's again, Senate prospects are very uncertain on this one. So this is why President Trump stepped in. They had a big talk, and they're trying to push that one into the provisions into the Clarity Bill so that it's combined. The Genius Act is likely to pass tomorrow, but remains to be seen. It will legitimize and regulate stable coins, boosting their adoption and reinforcing the U.S. dollar dominance, though critics highlight oversight gaps. Okay, so this is where they're trying to finish it up. Together, these bills will and could establish the U.S. as a global crypto leader, which is what Trump has been trying to do all along. But the internal GOP Republicans have division amongst them, as well as the Democratic opposition that I went into the anti-week. and the Senate negotiations all pose a challenge on these three bills. But if passed, they could drive significant market growth and adoption of cryptocurrencies, which is what we want because then everybody will be a lot more excited about cryptocurrency and we can go forward with getting cryptocurrencies much more established in the market and used by everybody, especially with more stable coins. So that's it on the three bills, and hopefully you enjoyed that presentation and it clarified some of those things for you on what's going on in the USA right now. Over to you, Marius.
Wonderful, Wendy. I wonder, by the way, your voice is my favorite sound in the world. I can listen to you all day long. When I met Wendy the first time,
That's
I went
news.
I just fell in love. I said, man, this is the most beautiful voice. I have to marry this woman.
I'm
And
embarrassed now.
yeah, okay, I'll cut it out. Can you just go
Oh,
back,
Okay.
share your screen there
Aw,
again? Yeah.
heart, love.
Just see your screen again, and then just go to slide number 12, I believe it was.
Hmm. Yes, this is the last slide.
Yeah, that one there. Well, there you can just stop there. Now look at this. Now the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. I mean, this is crazy, really, that we are debating: should the government control the CBDCs or should they not? Can they block us? Corey, I think you'll jump through the roof when you think about this, eh? Where have you ever seen that the government should control our money?
absolutely.
I mean, if something like this passes, and I think they are going to pass it at one point, they can literally, you can have $1 million worth of cryptos in your account, and they can stop and block your account. And if you make a wrong tweet or you say something bad on Facebook, they can literally just block your money or fine you and take 20%. Or what about the taxman? The taxman can decide, sorry, Wendy, I've just got to, he wouldn't block. Or the taxman can decide, are you there? Okay. So, or the taxman can decide that they need to take taxes out of your cryptos because it's now taxes that you need to pay in advance. So, like, let's say, for example, you've got two rental properties. The properties went up, let's say, the last year went up 30%. So you need to pay tax on income that you've not made yet, which is the case now in Australia. And I want people in Australia, look what's happening in Australia. They are taxing people for money that you have not even made yet. Now, what they're going to do, there's a bill that's going to go into Australia now for your self-managed super fund. If your super fund makes, let's say, for example, $1 million or it goes up in value, provide you have not even sold yet. So let's say you own assets, then the government can tax you on unrealized gains, meaning that you haven't yet made the profit, but they're going to charge you on that. This is the next set. It's coming all around the world. This is why I'm starting to get pretty much, Nico, really anti-Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is not decentralized anymore. It's owned by governments. Yeah. It's owned by big corporations. And they're pushing all of us out. And we're going to have to be really careful. And this is why I hope that the Clarity Act, all these things just work in a favor. Who knows what's in the fine print of these things? But
I think they know that. I think they know that, Morris. I think they know that they're up against a wall right now, and they have to make some decisions because if they're going to control, and you can look and see that all of these cryptos are at the same area, they're all regulated. There's no way you can not have. You can't see it on the crypto screens. What's going on, because they all run about the same and they all flow about the same. They're all on the same patterns, and then some of them are in another group, and it's just, if you have different companies, they're not all running the same finance information. So it's just they have to do something. So they definitely need to step in and get it regulated.